25 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Tuesday morning. It's time for News Bites. This is the segment of AM Ocala Live during which we turn off our opinions and we just read the news to you. Simple as that. We abbreviate it, though, make it a little bit shorter than it otherwise would be in most cases. We'll also tell you the news agency we're getting the story from so that you can look it up online. Most of these news stories are covered by most of these news agencies. So let me begin. My God, there's so many things this morning. The first story is from Politico. Wow. The Federal Aviation Administration has extended its ban on low-flying planes over Ferguson, Missouri for another week. In a notice released yesterday evening, the FAA said that the ban on aircraft flying at 3,000 feet and below will be in place through August 25th. The FAA initially instituted its ban last Tuesday and was set to expire yesterday. As it reported last week, the agency said the reason for the ban is to provide a safe environment for law enforcement activities. The action coincides with an FAA ban of U.S. commercial flights over Syria, where the agency said the ongoing conflict between Syrian governments and opposition forces provides a threat to safety. The ongoing armed conflict and volatile security environment in Syria poses a serious potential threat to civil aviation, the FAA said. Violent demonstrations have continued to erupt in Ferguson almost on a nightly basis in the aftermath of the August 9th fatal shooting of an unarmed 18-year-old named Michael Brown by police officer Darren Wilson. After a relatively calm evening last Thursday, the violence ratcheted up over the weekend, with Missouri Governor Jay Nixon instituting a midnight through 5 a.m. curfew for Saturday and Sunday nights and deploying National Guard forces on Monday. I know I don't offer opinion, and I'm not really doing that right now. I'm just amazed that they're equating this to Syria. So, anyway.
Say the words human trafficking, and the image that comes to mind is that of young girls being smuggled into the country to work in the sex trade or domestic servitude. But Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi says it's not just foreigners who are being victimized. Presiding over yesterday's first meeting of the statewide Council on Human Trafficking in Tallahassee, Florida, Bondi said the majority of them are from within our country. A lot of the kids are runaways. A lot of the kids have been bumped from foster home to foster home. A lot of the kids have aged out of foster care. They have nowhere to go. They wind up in strip clubs. They're immediately addicted to drugs to keep them captive. Bondi says Florida is one of the worst places in the country for the crime. She wants the Sunshine State to be a national leader in the fight against human trafficking. Experts say there are about 2.5 million victims of human trafficking that are in the United States, and Florida is one of the hubs, ranking third in the number of calls to the National Trafficking Hotline, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from the Associated Press, authorities have sent evacuation orders to some 13,000 phone numbers as an out-of-control wildfire bears down on a foothill community near Yosemite National Park in Central California. Sheriff John Anderson issued the evacuation orders late yesterday and declared a local state of emergency in Madera County. The 13,000 phone calls to evacuate included both homes and businesses, and it was not immediately clear how many people were involved, according to the sheriff's office. 4 hotels in the community of Oakhurst, about 16 miles away from an entrance to Yosemite, were evacuated, and classes today have been canceled for most of the Yosemite Unified School District. Another 2,500 more calls went out warning people they may also need to evacuate. The 1,200-acre blaze had burned at least 2 structures, but it was not immediately clear what those structures were.
Hospital operator Community Health Systems said a cyber attack took information on around 4.5 million patients from its computer network earlier this year. The Franklin, Tennessee company said yesterday that no medical or credit card records were taken in the attack, which may have happened in April and June. But Community did say that the attack did bypass its security systems, and it took patient names, addresses, birth dates, and and phone and social security numbers. The hospital operator said it believes the attack came from a group in China that used sophisticated malware and technology to get the information. Community Health has since removed the malware from its system and finalized other remediation efforts to prevent future attacks, reported by CBS.
And from Fox News, former House Majority Leader Tom DeLay has accused the prosecutor's office of waging a vendetta against Texas Republican Governor Rick Perry. DeLay, who was once indicted by the same Travis County DA's office, told Fox News that the abuse of power charges were another example of the criminalization of politics and called it a conspiracy. He claimed that the indictment by a grand jury in Austin was political payback after the governor had tried to force District Attorney Rosemary Lemberg to quit after she had been convicted of drunk driving. There is no doubt the case is politically motivated, he said. Once again, the District Attorney of Travis County presented a case not unlike mine that was very weak, if it was a case at all. It's a conspiracy to use the legal system to politicize politics, unquote. DeLay was indicted in 2005 by a Travis County grand jury for allegedly conspiring to break election laws 3 years earlier in a case that involved charges of money laundering. He was convicted in 2011 and sentenced to 3 years in prison, but remained free on bail pending appeal. Last year, the Texas Court of Appeals ruled that the evidence was legally insufficient and threw out the case.
A 52-year-old Croatian man nicknamed the Penis Collector was arrested after police found him with jars and jars of human penises preserved in formaldehyde in his home. Don't worry, though, because while this story had the potential to be really horrifying, it's only just pretty horrifying, because thankfully these penises were not actually attached to living people at the time of their removal. So on the plus side, he's not a murderer, just your garden variety wiener collecting pervert. According to sources, the man, whose name has not been released, works as a registered nurse at a city hospital. He has no criminal record. He has been described by some as a family man, though others say he is an alcoholic who often showed up to work drunk. The unnamed man has already been released from custody because that's how they roll in Croatia, apparently, and is awaiting sentencing, which would be a maximum of 2 years for disturbing the deceased, reported by Reuters.
Wow. The next story is from the Associated Press. AFP? I don't know what AFP is. Well, AFP is what it says. Pope Francis yesterday publicly broached the prospect of his own death for the first time, giving himself 2 or 3 years, but not ruling out retirement before then. Talking to reporters on a flight back to the Vatican from South Korea, the 77-year-old pontiff, who seemed in good spirits, was asked about his global popularity, which was evident again during his 5-day visit. He said, quote, "I see it as the generosity of the people of God. I try to think of my sins, my mistakes, not to become proud, because I know it will last only a short time, 2 or 3 years, and then I'll be off to the Father's house," he replied lightheartedly. The Argentine Pope said he would handle the popularity more naturally. He could handle his own popularity more naturally these days, though at first it scared him a little. While the Pope has not spoken publicly before about when he might meet his maker, a Vatican source said he had previously told those close to him that he thought he only had a few years left to live. Pope Francis also mentioned the possibility of retiring from the papacy, as his predecessor Benedict XVI did last year, if he felt he could no longer adequately perform his duties. We'll continue with News Bites after we take a little break. We've got to check up on the weather forecast and then a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back. Just a note, if you are new to this, remember we do this each weekday morning from 8:35 till 9. We call it News Bites, and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine mixing with clouds today and hot with a thunderstorm in the area this afternoon and evening. The high today 92 to 96. Then mainly clear and warm tonight, though 73 to 77. Tomorrow, intervals of clouds and sun. There can be a thunderstorm in places, mainly near the coast, though the high 92 to 96. And on Thursday, sunshine mixing with clouds. Watch out for a shower or thunderstorm, high 92 to 96. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Each morning, we wake up thankful to live in a free nation with liberty and justice for all. But sometimes those liberties can be put in jeopardy, and you may have questions about what to do or who to call. Let Doc Blanchard of Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland help you find the answers. Attorneys at law since 1974 and located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
Sign up for this year's Marion County Heart Walk and be part of a local movement that's helping others live longer, healthier lives. Join me, Corey Poole, your 2014 Marion County Heart Walk Chairman, and walk with me on Saturday, October the 4th at the Baseline Road Trailhead. It's a free event promoting physical activity and heart-healthy living. To find out how you can help fight the #1 killer of all Americans, visit us online at marionheartwalk.org.
Hey, it's Christy with Ocala Mac and PC Repair and Ocala Guest Wi-Fi to let you know we have you covered. We are the only local certified Apple and Microsoft computer company in Ocala. We are family owned and operated. From mobile repair to wireless networks, viruses, new systems, or security cameras, we do it all. Check us out online, ocalamacpc.com, or give us a call, 352-566-8324.
Tell them Nick, Madison, or Mason sent you and get free diagnostic.
Get your internet telephone service from the company that brought affordable internet service to Ocala in the first place. All is Safe is a sister company of Ocala Guest Wi-Fi, a company you've known and trusted for all your internet needs. Whether you need a phone or hundreds, we've got the products and services to meet your needs both now and in the future. Our plans include everything from local and long-distance calling to equipment maintenance and even software upgrades. You can count on All is Safe to give you cost certainty knowing that your bill will be the same next week, next month, or even next year. Call 352-450-8647 today to learn how to cut your monthly telephone bill up to 60%.
Men, do you know your testosterone level? Are you experiencing decreased energy levels or unusual sleeping problems? Have you noticed you have less strength or endurance, decreased sex drive, increased irritability or depression? If so, you may be experiencing problems with low testosterone. If you're interested in a free testosterone screening, please call Rinstar Medical Research at 352-629-5800. Again, that number is 352-629-5800.
All right, 12 minutes before 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Tuesday. Let's continue now with News Bites. The next story is from USA Today, from the city of Town and Country, Florida. A 7-year-old twin boy is expected to survive after his grandmother accidentally shot him early this morning. Linda Maddox was sleeping with her twin grandsons when the boy's father was at work. Maddox had placed a chair against the bedroom door handle for extra protection. Just before 1 a.m., Maddox heard the chair sliding against the wooden floor. Assuming it was an intruder, she grabbed a loaded .22 caliber revolver that she keeps by the bed, and she fired one shot in the dark toward the door. Seconds after firing, she heard the screams of her 7-year-old grandson, Tyler, whom she had shot in the upper body. The boy was transported to St. Joseph's Hospital, where he remains in critical but stable condition. Paramedics who responded to the shooting said it appeared Tyler would be okay.
Thank God. Scientists have completely reversed hair loss in 3 people by giving them a drug normally used to treat bone marrow disorders. The patients had alopecia areata, a condition that can cause severe patchy baldness that is difficult to treat. But after 5 months of taking the medication ruxolitinib, all 3 saw total hair regrowth. The findings from Columbia University Medical Center are published in the journal Nature Medicine. Alopecia areata affects around 2 in every 1,000 people in the UK and is thought to be caused by the immune system attacking their follicles. The U.S. scientists had previously identified a set of immune cells that are involved in the destruction of hair and conducted a number of successful trials in mice, reported by the BBC.
The next story is from CNN. Microsoft is thinking about changing the name of Internet Explorer. In an Ask Me Anything chat on Reddit last week, engineers from Microsoft's Internet Explorer team fielded questions about the world's most infamous web browser, answering a question about whether Microsoft ever considered rebranding and changing the name of Internet Explorer. The team conceded that it has and is. It's been suggested internally, the team commented. Plenty of ideas get kicked about on how we can separate ourselves from negative perceptions that no longer reflect the product we produce today.
Gay marriage supporters yesterday asked the U.S. Supreme Court not to block a court ruling that would allow same-sex couples to wed in Virginia. Lawyers for gay and lesbian couples who want to get married urged U.S. Chief Justice John Roberts not to grant an emergency stay application filed by a Republican elected official in Northern Virginia. Prince William County Clerk of the Court, Michelle McQuigg, on Thursday asked the Supreme Court to put a hold on appeals court rulings that struck down the state's ban on gay marriage. The lawyers for the gay and lesbian couples said McQuaid could not show there is a high probability that the justices would reverse the lower court, meaning there is no need for Roberts to prevent it from immediately going into effect, reported by Reuters.
And in entertainment news, this is from eonline.com. The Late Show with David Letterman did not tape any new episodes in the days after 63-year-old Robin Williams committed suicide, so David Letterman assembled a touching 10-minute package that featured memorable clips from Robin Williams' appearances on the program. David Letterman also said he had been friends with Robin Williams for 38 years. He said, quote, "Many things come to mind in a situation like this, and of course more questions are raised than can possibly be answered." He then recalled meeting Robin Williams at the Comedy Store in LA, saying in those days we were working for free drinks. Some were working for more free drinks than others. What you would do is you would go on stage, you would do your little skits, and you would come off stage, and if there was a new guy coming on, you'd want to stick around and make fun of the new guy because you were all worried that somebody else was coming in who was really funny after you. From the get-go, Robin Williams was a force of nature, he said, and he went on to discuss, I don't want to do the whole thing, but he went on to discuss, I guess he created a 10-minute tribute to Robin Williams, and it's available online.
Orlando, Florida area neighborhoods are under a coyote alert. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission says several coyotes were recently spotted in College Park and in Winter Park. So far, there have been no reports of any attacks or injuries from wild coyotes. Signs were posted reading, "Coyotes in area, don't feed wildlife, supervise pets." The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission advises residents to avoid leaving any human or pet food outdoors. Any garbage should be secured in animal-proof containers. The FWC asks anyone who sees a coyote not to approach it. You can find out more at the agency's website, www.myfwc.com, reported by the Florida News Network.
And from the Independent publication, Icelandic experts are still watching Bardarbunga for possible signs of eruption after an intense series of earthquakes under the volcano. A total of 2,600 earthquakes have been detected under Iceland's largest volcanic system since Saturday. The Icelandic Meteorological Office declared an orange aviation alert, the second highest on its 5-grade scale, and confirmed that the risk of an eruption had increased yesterday. Seismic activity remains active at the site today, with the events remaining 5 to 10 kilometers below the surface at the moment. Bardarbunga is Iceland's largest volcanic system, located under the ice cap of the Vatnajökull glacier in the southwest of Iceland. It is a different range to the volcano we heard about a few years ago, which is an impossible name to pronounce, so I have help from my computer.
Eyjafjallajökull.
Thank you. That's the name of the other one.
There you go. Police subdued a naked sword-wielding man who was running around an apartment complex in Mayport, Florida. The unidentified man was taken into custody after a group of Good Samaritans tackled him on Saturday. The man, who was not identified, was screaming at passersby in the parking lot. Police arrived a short time later and took the naked man into custody. No injuries were reported. It was not immediately clear if he was charged, reported by the New York Daily News.
From Fox News, spacewalking astronauts launched a tiny Peruvian research satellite yesterday, setting it loose on a mission to observe Earth. Russian Oleg Artemyev cast the 4-inch box off with his gloved right hand as the International Space Station sailed 260 miles above the cloud-flecked planet. The nano-satellite gently tumbled as it cleared the vicinity of the orbiting complex precisely as planned. Someone called out in Russia, 1, 2, 3, I guess in Russian. Cameras watched as the nano-satellite, only 4 inches in size, named Chesky after the Inca messengers who were fleet on foot, increased its distance and grew smaller. Artyev's Russian spacewalking partner, Alexander Svatskov, tried to keep his helmet camera aimed at the satellite as it floated away. The satellite, only 2 pounds in weight, holds instruments to measure temperature and pressure and cameras that will photograph Earth while it orbits the planet. It's a technological learning experience for the National University of Engineering in Lima, Peru. A Russian cargo ship delivered the device earlier this year.
James Risen is stating that President Obama is the greatest enemy of press freedom in a generation. The New York Times reporter is facing jail time for refusing to disclose a confidential government source. He slammed the Obama administration for its track record of prosecuting reporters. Risen's legal options were exhausted in June when the Supreme Court rejected his appeal to avoid naming a source for his 2006 book, State of War. The government claims they need Risen's testimony to prove former CIA official Jeffrey Sterling leaked intelligence on Operation Merlin, in which the CIA planned to sabotage the Iranian nuclear program through and information sold by Russian scientists, reported by UPI.
And from the Jerusalem Post, the Gaza ceasefire is ended at midnight today after Israel and Hamas agreed to extend it by 24 hours to allow additional time to come to an understanding to stop the violence. For the last 6 days, Egypt has brokered indirect talks. Reports out of Cairo indicated that an understanding was in the works that addressed some Palestinian demands while delaying discussion on other issues for 1 month. Indirect talks to halt the violence between Israel and Hamas went to a midnight deadline for the second time in a week, with leaks out of Cairo indicating that a ceasefire understanding was forthcoming.
The ranks of non-teachers, such as administrators, counselors, teacher aides, and cafeteria workers, has swelled 130% since 1970. They now make up 50% of all public school employees. The hidden half, school employees who don't teach. Looking at data from the National Center for Education Statistics, the Thomas E. Fordham Institute found that the growth of non-teaching staff has greatly outpaced student growth over the past 4 decades. From 1970 to 2010, the number of students grew by 8.6%, while the number of non-teaching personnel increased by 130%. Non-teachers now consume over a quarter of all education expenditures, and this is according to the new study reported by CNS News.
And this is probably the last story from Fox News. The rates of hospitalizations and deaths from heart disease and stroke in the United States have declined dramatically in the past 2 decades, according to a new study that was published yesterday. Researchers looked at the medical records of nearly 34 million people between the ages of 65, older than 65, who had been hospitalized for various conditions between 1999 and 2011, and found that the rate of hospitalization for heart attack, heart failure, and stroke declined by about 30 to 40% over that time. The decline was more rapid than was seen in other conditions. Similarly, hospitalization rates for a heart condition called unstable angina, which is usually caused by blocked arteries that reduce blood flow to the heart and can lead to a heart attack, dropped by 83%.
Wow.
All right, how many stories today, Robin?
21.
21 stories. All right, remember we do this each weekday morning. It's a great way to catch up on the news and get on with your own life. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Area schools canceled for the rest of the week as violence continues in Ferguson, Missouri over the shooting of an unarmed black teen.
Peaceful protests turned violent again last night along West Florestan Street in Ferguson. That's when police moved in using tear gas and other types of force.
Fox Radio's Jeff Manasso in St. Louis.
2 people shot by others in the crowd. A couple buildings set on fire and 31 arrested.
Many of the criminal elements that have been coming to Ferguson are not from this area. Some of those arrested came from as far away as New York and California.
And Missouri State Patrol Captain Ron Johnson is saying that it'll be up to residents and police to work together to end the violence in Ferguson.
A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas in Gaza gets a 24-hour extension. And iconic TV announcer Don Pardo, many know from Saturday Night Live and The Price is Right and other programs, has died. He was 96. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Know-how! 5 quarts of Valvoline conventional oil and a Napa Silver filter for just $22 is a no-brainer. So now you're free to think about other things. Like, aren't zebras really just horses with cool tattoos? With 5 quarts of Valvoline and a Napa Silver filter for just $22, it's definitely something to think about. Conquer the job with Napa Know-how. General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees at participating Napa Auto Parts stores. Offer expires 8/31/14.
This week only, get 3 original HP ink cartridges and save. Good things always come in threes. 3-day weekends, 3-piece suits, 3D movies. And during this very special week, buy 3 original HP ink cartridges and save 40% on the third. The quality and reliability of original HP ink. On sale this week at Staples, Office Depot, Office Max, Best Buy, and HPDirect.com. Offer expires 8/23/14 while supplies last. Restrictions apply. Visit hp.com/ghost.
Yeah, Liz?